Welcome to MotoGP in 9 minutes. Here is what you need to know today. Marc Marquez spent most of the 2026 season riding with a screw in his shoulder pressing directly against his radial nerve, sending what Spanish medical sources described as lightning bolts of pain through his arm every single lap. The injury came from a crash in Indonesia last October that damaged old metalwork from previous surgeries. He covered it, physically with tape and sleeves, and metaphorically with sheer force of will. He walked into every press conference, smiled at every camera, and let people debate his setup while his nervous system was on fire. The paddock was arguing about whether his Ducati was dialed in while he was riding with 1.5 hands for most of an entire season. The first 3 laps of every race were what he called a personal hell, struggling with pain until his body warmed up. He revealed this only after the diagnosis came, and only after a crash at the Circuit of the Americas added more damage to his already broken right side. He said worse and worse and worse when describing his physical descent across just a single race weekend. 3 words. Roll them in your mouth like gravel. That is the reigning MotoGP champion describing his own decline across 72 hours, not a season, not a career. He said it to a room full of journalists with the kind of flat calm that tells you he has made complete peace with pain, so completely that it no longer even qualifies as suffering in his mind. It is just data. He gave us a visual tell if we knew what to look for. Elbow up means protection. Elbow down means confidence and no pain. Go back and watch the footage from every race and sprint and qualifying lap from the first round of 2026. Watch the right elbow. That elbow was screaming what his mouth refused to say. The double surgery on his right foot from Le Mans and his right shoulder that had been planned before the foot even broke was confirmed as successful. But the damage to his championship campaign was already terminal. He now sits 85 points behind the championship leader. The title is gone. The season that was supposed to be his coronation lap became a medical report filed in slow motion. Moving on to Pecco Bagnaia, and what he went through at the Catalan Grand Prix was genuinely brutal, and it deserves recognition. The restart at Circuit de Catalunya was chaos before it even began. First corner, first second, Zarco clipped Marini's rear, turned into a missile, and Bagnaia had nowhere to go. 3 riders launched into the gravel at race speed. All 3 walked away, which by itself is a miracle. But Pecco stayed. He stood in that gravel with Johan Zarco with a wrist that would later tell a very specific story, and he did not leave until the marshals came. The circuit officials called his behavior exemplary. In this paddock, in this sport, in this era, that matters. But then came the footage. Private Ducati footage shot in the garage after the medical center cleared him. Bagnaia walks back in, looks at his engineers with that exhausted Italian calm, and says he cannot move a thing. For words. One hand that would not respond. And then he got back on the bike. He finished the race. He crossed the line 5th, which became 4th when Ogura got penalized for taking out Acosta on the final lap, which became 3rd when Joan Mir lost his podium to a tight tire pressure penalty. Bagnaia's first podium of 2026, earned with a hand that could not clap properly when they gave him the trophy. The footage shows an engineer watching him try to celebrate. He cannot even move, poor Pecco. He later admitted he felt dizzy after the crash. He admitted he probably should have stopped. He said he will need to check the wrist again before Mugello because something still does not feel right. He said he will do physiotherapy, back off training, try not to make it worse. He said he needs to be at 100% for Mugello because of how physically demanding the circuit is. That is Pecco, transparent, human, honest about the damage and honest about what it demands to keep going. Now let us talk about the difference between these 2 stories and why it matters. We understand Pecco. We process Pecco. He crashed, he got hurt, he pushed through, he told us about it. He won a podium, he went to physio. That is the kind of courage we can hold in our hands and look at clearly. It has edges, and it has weight, and it fits inside a human story. Marc Marquez does not fit inside a human story. What Marquez was doing this season, riding an entire campaign, knowing he needed shoulder surgery, knowing one of his own screws was attacking his radial nerve, knowing the championship was slipping away, and still dragging that Ducati to the front on raw competitive instinct alone, that is not the same category. That is not courage we recognize from daily life. That is something closer to mythology. Something that happens in the parts of human experience where the brain stops negotiating with the body and the body simply submits to an idea. Marquez has endured a lot of punishment in his pursuit of greatness. That is the sanitized version. The real version is that this man has been reconstructed surgically more times than most people change careers, and every time they put him back together, he gets on the bike and finds a new limit to push past. He even won a sprint race in Brazil in the middle of all this. That is not a rider managing pain. That is a man bending physics with sheer psychotic determination. Pecco's wrist is pain. Marquez's season is war. And war does not ask if you are ready. Switching gears to what this means for the remainder of 2026. Marquez is now facing extended recovery time after his double surgery. Whether he even makes it to Mugello is uncertain. The damage to his campaign was already terminal before the surgeries, and now the question becomes not about winning a title, but about whether he can physically return to racing at all. His elbow will tell the story when he does come back. If it stays up, we will know he is protecting something. If it goes down, we will know the pain has either subsided or he has simply accepted it as the cost of being who he is. The medical toll of this season will follow him for years, possibly decades. His body has been through reconstructive surgery more times than most people experience in a lifetime, and now he is adding another chapter to that story. The paddock will watch carefully when he returns. Everyone will be looking for that elbow, that visual tell, that code carved into his riding posture that speaks the truth his mouth will not say. On to the championship picture and what these injuries mean for the title fight. With Marquez now effectively sidelined and facing an extended absence, the championship is wide open. The leader sits 85 points clear with more rounds to come. Bagnaia's third-place finish at Catalunya was a morale boost despite his wrist troubles, but whether he can climb back into genuine contention remains unclear. He needs that wrist to heal properly before Mugello, or he will be fighting the track and his own body at the same time. Marini, Zarco, and the other riders in the middle of the pack will see an opportunity to vault forward with both the top dogs struggling. The KTM camp has a chance to capitalize. Trackhouse will be watching closely. This championship was supposed to be Marquez's, written in dominance and certainty. Instead, it is becoming a story of resilience from unexpected places, riders grinding out results despite injuries, and the pure luck of avoiding the disasters that have taken out the favorites. Mugello is next, and it will tell us a lot about who is actually capable of stepping into the void that pain and surgery have created. Here is what matters most going forward. The 2026 season is not a championship story. It is a documentation of what human beings will absorb in the name of something they refuse to let go. Bagnaia cannot move his hand, and he is still hunting podiums. Marquez was under the knife for the second time in months, and he will be back, probably before he should be, definitely before anyone would advise, absolutely before his body agrees. Because that is who these men are, and because in this sport, that is the only currency that actually matters. Giving up is a number. Putting yourself at 100% is a decision, and some men make it every single weekend with whatever pieces of themselves are still left. The visual code in an elbow position, the lightning bolts in a shoulder, the hand that cannot clap on the podium, these are not footnotes to the story. These are the story. MotoGP in 2026 is being written in pain and defiance, and the absolute refusal to accept limits that the body is screaming about every single lap. Watch the elbows. Listen to the silence where complaints should be. Count the surgeries, and then watch them come back anyway. This is not normal sport. This is not normal human behavior. This is something closer to mythology playing out on asphalt at 340 kilometers per hour with men